edition. I am broadcasting you from beautiful Kirtland, Ohio. For those of you who have never been to Kirtland, we are about about 40 minutes northeast of Cleveland, near Lake Erie, Lake County, and came here for their Heritage Days, also for a family reunion. The Johnson family, Benjamin Franklin Johnson family reunion. And that behind me is what is known as the Kirtland Temple, dedicated in 1836 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's been a very spiritual experience for us to be here, for me to be here this weekend. Kirtland has a history where the church wasn't exactly beloved. Hit a lot of resistance, people that did not like us. But Kirtland at one point was larger than Cleveland. And it just made me think sort of about this American experience. This is 1831. Joseph Smith and the church started moving here en masse. In 1830, late 1830, about 130 people joined the church here and had prayed for the prophet to come here, and he came. And even though the church was being established in Missouri, had felt that there needed to be some work done here. And part of that was to build this temple, which was a monumental feat considering the church was unspeakably poor at that time. So it took a lot of faith and a lot of work. And they established this town, and there's a lot of fun historic stuff here about the sawmills and quarries where they quarried the stone, and people dedicated their service to make it possible. And by 1838, the violence here was so bad they had to leave. And ever since then, for years and years, the sense was that even while this was an important place for us historically and spiritually, there was still a cloud that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was not welcome back here. That we were something that the locals chafed at still. That has been a slow process of overcoming. There have been some really interesting stories about how that's happened, involving Steve Young, one of them. But there's been a softening of hearts, and now finally the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints just last year was able to purchase and take over stewardship and ownership of this important temple historically. It's got a lot of maintenance issues and a lot of structural engineers, but it just made me think a lot about America, our American experience, and what it means to live peaceably with those that we disagree with. I know the news has been very sad today out of Minnesota. Again, send my condolences and concern to the families affected there, and reaffirm our stance that political violence is not the way to solve differences. We have ideas. We need patience, persuasion that we should overcome through ideas, through evidence, through faith, but not through violence, coercion, intimidation. These are un-American tactics. They're traits. They're mob rule. And the mobs might get their way temporarily, but everybody knows that it's being done out of coercion, and it's not a real changing of hearts. Nothing done out of fear will last. And though I know a lot of people have justified that these are extreme circumstances, that Donald Trump is different, and that because of that we have to waive all decorum, all normal human decency in our fight against anything he says, I have to unequivocally disagree with that. Say that we really, now more than ever, even with somebody that you disagree vociferously with, We need to try our utmost to change minds and hearts with ideas, not threats, not violence, not hate, and certainly not murder. And hey, Tanya, thanks for coming. So yeah, I feel like it is a dark episode, and I hope that these murders shock people into to respecting the courage of our lawmakers when they try to do what they believe is wise for them and their stewardships, and not just what's politically expedient or what they're fear for their lives to do. That they can have the moral courage to stand up. And I don't know what it doesn't look like anybody's live here right now. Eddie is traveling as well, but I do feel like it's important at this time in American history. I think we will remember those that took this time to de-escalate violence, to calm down the emotional response to to bills, laws not going their way, to an executive enforcing laws differently than we would like to see them enforced. Certainly, this is a disruption and a correction. We've talked about it a lot. We tend to think that we want to see how things go and whether or not, we need a correction from the open borders. And I feel like this is an overreaction, that these protests are very much, the violence of them, the law breaking of them is very much not in harmony, not a proper reaction for the people, the criminals being arrested and investigated. I know nobody was deported under Biden, but that couldn't continue. It was unsustainable. And we have to come to and see how we're going to support people that come here. How are we going to welcome them? One way is not worrying about how much it's going to cost to bring people in here. That's one of the things I think that this brave Minnesota lawmaker said. If we're not paying for their health insurance, we're actually able to be a lot more welcoming to them because we're not worried about how much they're going to make our budget go over, right? It is a responsibility, and one that we as normal, not just citizens who are not elected representatives, we don't have to deal with that. We don't have to make hard decisions. We don't have to sit in unspeakably boring meetings and discuss trade-offs. What programs are good? Obviously, when we're wealthy, we have no debt, we can do anything good, anything we want to. But then to realize we're poor, we can't afford this. It would be great if we could, but we can't. And yes, people are going to be hurt by that they can't be provided for by the government. But just because of that is not justification for violence. It's not justification, right? We have to come back and be responsible. And responsible as citizens, too. And we can't, I don't know, I have never been in a place in my life where I have felt like somebody's political betrayal, voting for something I disagree with or in a way that I didn't expect, somehow entitled me to enact violence upon their life, upon their families, especially to end their life and give them no redemption, no chance. And so I think it is very dark that rhetoric has been interpreted, and I do feel like that the left needs to accept responsibility and take action to change the rhetoric, to tell people that no, they need to stop with violent protests. They need to write impassioned and good reasoning to justify their actions and not just rely on emotions, anger, loudness, shouting. If this is really the right way forward, convince us, show us how it can work. How can we pay for this? And the consent of the government. This is a moment for our republic, for us to respect those that are elected, even if we didn't vote for them, but they were elected fairly. Then we need to respect that for their period of time, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, that's going to be the legitimate will of the government. And if we don't like it, we have 4 years, 2 years, 6 years, whatever, to change as many people's minds that the direction needs to go another way. And not just, like thugs, enact political violence on those we disagree with. I don't think this is that extreme. I feel like this is common sense. The common sense to say, California, I know you are unhappy that the president is deporting people that you don't think need to leave the country, but you need to respect that for 4 years he has the legitimate right to do that. People have elected him, and that's the Constitution. We uphold the Constitution, and if you change people's minds in 4 years, if you regain power, you can set different priorities. But we are a nation of laws, not of mobs. You don't change people's minds through violence. You change it through laws. That is our order. That is our peace. That will be our prosperity, and that's what will set us apart. Anyway, if more of you are on here, I'd answer your questions. And please, go home, sleep, be peaceful. Let's not act violence, but we may have to remember that if ideas are only justified by violence, they're un-American. We need to reject them, even if we have to overcorrect to do so. All right, this is Common Mansplaining in a special live update in response to the Minnesota slayings. Talk to you later.